Imagine for a second that we take two people, let's say two fruit vendors. They have the exact same work ethic. They wake up
Tell
at
me
4
about it.
a.m., they have the same intelligence, they sell the exact same bananas and apples. By all logic, they should have the same success, right? But fast forward 20 years. Person A has a chain of grocery stores, a retirement fund, and owns their own home. Person B is still sitting on the exact same cardboard box on the side of the road, broke and afraid. Why? Is person A smarter? No. Is person B lazy? Absolutely not. The answer isn't about them. It's about the invisible machine operating in the background. It's about the rules of the game that control their lives. For centuries, economists thought the difference between rich and poor countries was geography or weather or just pure luck. But last year, the Nobel Prize in Economics was awarded to three men, Duran Acemoglu, Simon Johnson, and James Robinson, who proved us all wrong. They discovered the real reason why you can cross a border and suddenly see your income drop by 90%. And here's the most striking part. Prosperity has very little to do with how much money a country has, and everything to do with who holds the power. Welcome to Foxonomics. We are breaking down the Nobel Prize-winning theory of why nations fail. Today, we are going to look at the single biggest question in economics. Why are some countries rich, like the US, Norway, or South Korea, and others poor? To understand this, we need to go back to the work of MIT professor Simon Johnson. He argues that economics isn't just about supply and demand. It's about political economy. You cannot separate the money from the politics, because money doesn't descend from the heavens. Decisions are made by people. And usually those people have an agenda. So to show you how this works, we aren't going to look at stock markets or banks. We are going to look at two fruit sellers, one in New York City and one in Kingston, Jamaica. Chapter 1. The Tale of Two Vendors. Let's travel to Jamaica, around the year 2010. On the side of a road, there are three women sitting on cardboard boxes selling plantains, breadfruit, and peas. One of these women has been doing this for 20 years. Think about that. 2 decades of grinding work, but she doesn't have a store. She doesn't even have a chair. Why? Is she avoiding taxes? Well, technically yes. She doesn't pay income tax to the government, but here's the tragic twist. She is paying taxes, just not to the state. She pays what she calls protection money. In her world, the police or local gangs come by regularly. They call them the Metro Men. They don't come to help, they come to steal. They take her fruit, they beat her up. Sometimes they lock her up. She told reporters, "We have to beg and go back and buy our fruit back from them. Sometimes we cry." She is trapped in the informal sector. She can't invest in a shop because if she looks too successful, someone will come and take it away from her. Now, let's fly to New York City. Meet Mehdi. He's from Bangladesh. He's only been in the US for 6 months. He is doing the exact same job, selling fruit on the sidewalk. But Mehdi pulls out a piece of paper. It's a permit. He pays taxes. He is official. If a police officer comes to Mehdi's stand, the officer doesn't steal his apples, the officer protects him. Because Mehdi is in the formal sector, he has rights. He can get a loan. He can expand. He can sue someone if they steal from him. This is the core of the Nobel Prize-winning theory. Simon Johnson calls this the difference between inclusive institutions and extractive institutions. Mehdi lives in a system with inclusive institutions. The playing field is level. The rules apply to everyone. You can trust that if you build something, you get to keep it. The woman in Jamaica lives under extractive institutions. The system is designed for a few powerful people to extract value from the rest. If you try to rise up, the system smacks you down. Chapter 2. The Invisible Wall. Okay, so why doesn't everyone just get legal? To answer this, we have to look at the work of a Peruvian economist named Hernando de Soto. Back in the 1980s, de Soto looked at his country, Peru, and asked, why are so many people poor? He walked through the slums and realized something shocking. The poor weren't broke. He saw houses made of bricks. He saw cement bags on roofs. People had money, but they were saving it in bricks, not in banks. They were locked out of the system. So, De Soto did a famous experiment. He decided to open a small, legal shirt factory in Peru. He hired a team of students and lawyers and said, do everything by the book. Get every permit. Don't pay bribes unless you absolutely have to. Just measure how long it takes. How long do you think it took? A week? A month? It took 278 days. They had to work 6 hours a day just to do the paperwork. They visited 7 different ministries. They were asked for bribes 10 times. And at the end of nearly a year of running around, what did they get? Just a piece of paper saying they were allowed to sew shirts. This was the invisible wall. If you are a poor entrepreneur, you can't wait 289 days to start earning money. You need to eat today. So you are forced to work illegally. And once you are illegal, you can't get credit. You can't get a loan. You can't scale up. You are stuck. This was a revelation. It proved that the poor aren't poor because of culture. They are poor because the law makes it impossible for them to be rich. Chapter 3. The High Stakes of Change. Now, you might be thinking, okay, Foxonomics, if the rules are bad, why don't they just change them? This is where it gets dangerous. Remember the political economy concept? There are always people who benefit from the bad rules. In Peru, when De Soto published his findings, he didn't just get applause, he got death threats. At the time, a communist terrorist group called the Shining Path was trying to take over Peru. They claimed capitalism was the enemy, but De Soto argued that the poor wanted capitalism. They just couldn't get access to it. He wrote a book called The Other Path. The terrorists were furious. They felt De Soto was stealing their recruits by offering a better solution. One day, the terrorists parked a car in front of De Soto's office. It was loaded with 350 kilos of dynamite. They lit the fuse and ran. The explosion killed 3 people. Later, they machine-gunned De Soto's car because fixing the economy threatens the people who hold power. In an extractive system, like North Korea or parts of the old colonial world, the elite want the rules to be complicated. They want monopolies. They don't want a middle class rising up to challenge them. As Simon Johnson says, if the rich, powerful people don't want it, you're not going to get it. But here is the good news. Countries can change. Institutions aren't set in stone. De Soto survived the assassination attempts. He managed to get the ear of the president of Peru. They actually launched a TV show, basically a reality show, where the president would hear complaints from citizens about red tape. If a permit took too long, the president would give the official 5 days to fix it or get fired. It sounds crazy, but it worked. The rules got simpler. Property titles were given to the poor, and the economy grew. This is what Simon Johnson and the Nobel laureates argue is the key. To become a rich country, you need democracy. You need a system where power is shared. You need a middle class that says, hey, we want fair rules. If you rely on a dictator or a benevolent leader, you might get lucky for a few years. But eventually, that leader will get old or cranky or corrupt. True wealth comes when the institutions are stronger than the individuals. So, let's go back to our initial question. Why are some countries rich and some poor? It's not because the people in poor countries don't work hard. The women in Jamaica work harder than most Wall Street bankers. It's because they're playing a game that is rigged against them. Rich countries are rich because they have inclusive institutions. They have property rights, rule of law, and a system that allows talent to rise. Poor countries stay poor because they have extractive institutions, systems designed to keep the elite rich and everyone else in their place. The scary thing is, this isn't just about developing nations. Simon Johnson warns that even in rich countries like the US, we are seeing signs of extraction. Wealthy people using their money to influence politics, to change the rules in their favor. The lesson from the Nobel Prize winners is clear. Prosperity isn't guaranteed. It has to be built, defended, and demanded by the people. What do you think about the institutions in your country? Are they helping you build, or are they standing in your way? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the hidden engines of our world, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to Foxonomics. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.